River Niger flows through 9 West African countries: Nigeria, Guinea, Mali, Benin Republic, Burkina Faso, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, and Niger. In recognition of the enormous natural resources of the river basin, these countries established the Niger Basin Authority to collectively develop and manage the natural resources. However, over the years, climate change and increase in population have continued to degrade the basin of the river. This common challenge has provided an opportunity for more collaborations and closer integration amongst these 9 countries. Welcome to the program African Integration, a quarter-hour period that looks at various unique opportunities available for Africans to strengthen the bonds of cooperation. In this edition, focus is on the Niger Basin Authority Extraordinary Session of the Council of Ministers held in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. My name is Glory Ohagu, and the program is coming to you from Voice of Nigeria. Do stay tuned. The Niger Basin Authority was established in 1964 as an intergovernmental organization to foster cooperation in the management and development of the resources of the basin of the River Niger. The organization is aimed at coordinating integrated development of the water resources. These resources include hydroelectric resources, ecotourism, agricultural resources, energy, forestry, transportation, industries, and many much more. However, recently, climate change and some human activities have continued to degrade the resources of the river basin. These are parts of the reasons for the Niger Basin Authority Extraordinary Session of the Council of Ministers held on May 30th, 2016 in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. The Executive Secretary of the Niger Basin Authority, Madam Topota Bogand, set the ball rolling at the session by highlighting the ever-devastating effects of climate change in the river basin.
After the meeting in Cotonou some months back, here we are gathered one more time in Abuja to review important documents within the scope of the response to the need of the basin population within a context marked by the challenges of an increasing population growth and climate change. These challenges are of concern to us, particularly with regard to the achievement of our development goals for the basin. It is in this light that it's imperative to scale up our strategies and policies in order to ensure better livelihood for our population. Ladies and gentlemen, upon instruction of the summit of the head of state and government, all stakeholders, I mean member countries, the executive secretariat, and our technical and financial partners have made every possible effort to meet the summit decision for the future of our basin.
Climate change has significantly affected the River Niger, depleting the natural resources that abound therein. Today, desertification has taken over the mangrove forests of the river, further leading to the extinction of plant and animal species in and around the river. Nigeria's President, Muhammadu Buhari, who is the chairman of the Niger Basin Authority Summit of Heads of States and Government, was represented by Nigeria's Minister of Environment, Amina Ibrahim. While lamenting the alarming degradation of the Niger Basin river resources, President Buhari called on member countries to proffer integrated development and adaptation programs on climate change in the Niger River Basin.
The Niger Basin is experiencing a significant degradation of its resources under the combined effects of climate change and human activities, thus exacerbated by conflict. Obviously, this phenomenon is heavily compromising the future of an ever-increasing population of the Niger Basin through the intensity and number of environmental, social and economic challenges it is inducing. Since 2002, the highest authorities of the MBA member countries have spared neither time nor their means, with the support of donors, to achieve the shared vision process for sustainable development of the Niger Basin. The achievement of the investments planned in the OPE-CRIP will contribute to improving the living conditions of the basin's populations, especially our women and young people, through a significant increase in food security due to the development of agricultural production, livestock breeding and fisheries. It will also enable various interconnections in terms of power and facilitate navigation on the river and its tributaries, thus strengthening our regional integration.
Declaring the session open, President Muhammadu Buhari urged the Council ministers to critically assess the challenges facing the Niger Basin Authority, especially the adoption of the results of the institutional and organizational audit of the authority. He said their deliberations is central to the future of the Niger Basin Authority.
It will also enable various interconnections in terms of power and facilitate navigation on the river and its tributaries, thus strengthening our regional integration. The implementation of the adopted operational plan will require some institutional and organizational adjustments in line with our investment profile in the basin. The need for adjustment has justified our decision to conduct the institutional and organizational audit of MBA, the results of which are submitted to this extraordinary session of the Council of Ministers for consideration. Distinguished Ministers, your session will therefore brainstorm on the future of this institution by reviewing important issues related to the adoption of the results of the MBA institutional and organizational audit. In the same vein, we are all aware of the challenges faced by member countries in fulfilling their financial obligations, leading to the authority's survival by taking an overdraft to finance its operations. The MBA Secretariat has examined this challenge and the competing demands, and they are making a proposal for a new sharing formula of member countries' contributions to enable her execute its budget effectively.
Nigeria's Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, who is also the chairman of the Niger Basin Authority Council of Ministers, addressing the session, said there is a need for institutional reform of the organization to tackle the current challenges facing the Niger River Basin. He urged member countries to adopt a strategic and operational plan of the authority so as to achieve an integrated development of the river across the region.
Our presence in Abuja is born out of the shared interests of our heads of state and the people of the basin in the Niger Basin Authority. We are all aware that the goal of the founding fathers of NBA, formulated in November 1980, is to promote cooperation between member countries and ensure an integrated development of the Niger Basin in the areas of hydraulics, energy, agriculture, livestock, fisheries and fish farming, forestry and logging. Therefore, it is my pleasure to note that since creation of the MBA, the organization has been working tirelessly to fulfill its mandate. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the execution of these investments will contribute to improving the living conditions of the people through an increase in production and access to hydropower, a secured agricultural, pastoral and fishery production, an increase in the surface areas of agro-pastoral and forestry production through the restoration of degraded land. Also, it will contribute to the protection and preservation of the river and the basin's ecosystem through activities like fixing of dunes, development of ponds, protection of river banks and tributaries, and fight against invasive plants, industrial mining, and mining pollution. For the successful implementation of operational plan activities and actions which are essential for achieving the aforementioned objectives, our institutions need an institutional and organizational reform to match up its new ambitions.
On the 8th of January 2016, the 11th Summit of Heads of State and Government was held in Cotonou, Republic of Benin, where a new strategic and operational plan was adopted. The plan has a lifeline of 8 years, starting from 2016 and terminating by 2024. Engineer Adamu Suleiman calls for proactive measures for fast actualization of the adopted plan. According to Adamu, the strategic and operational plan is a programmed approach which, when implemented, could revitalize the resources of the basin.
Our extraordinary session comes at a time when our organization is recording a positive evolution, marked by important innovation initiatives like program approach for the implementation of investment actions. The first step towards realizing this initiative was the development and adoption in 2012 of the 10-year strategic plan of our institution by the 31st Ordinary Session of the Council of Ministers held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. The second step was the adoption of the NBA 2016 to 2024 operational plan by the 11th Summit of NBA Heads of State and Government on 8 January 2016 in Cotonou, Benin Republic. This operational plan, developed with the active participation of representatives of all member countries, has selected 350 investment and capacity building actions for the benefit of countries and the NBA Executive Secretariat, in a total sum of $7.2 billion. Over 93% of the 350 investment actions of the operational plan are economic, physical goods that will be created in the member countries for the benefit of the basin's populations. The total cost of these investments is $6.44 billion, which is nearly 90% of the total budget of the operational plan.
At the end of the session, resolutions were passed. Some of the resolutions are an adoption of the new sharing formula for member countries' contributions to the Niger Basin Authority operating budget, the adoption of a supplementary budget allocation to the Niger Basin Authority's 2016 budget, and the adoption of an institutional and organization audit reports of the Niger Basin Authority. Citizens of the 9 affected countries are really looking forward to an actualization and implementation of the new resolutions of the Niger Basin Authority Extraordinary Session of the Council of Ministers for the protection and preservation of the abundant resources of the Niger Basin Authority and an integration of the region. And that's it on this edition of the program African Integration. It reached you from Voice of Nigeria. For any comments, contributions, or inquiries, do send an email to the producer, African Integration, Voice of Nigeria, Broadcasting House, PMB 40003, Falomo, Ikoyi, Lagos, or PMB 5089, Wuse Post Office, Abuja, Nigeria. You can also send an email to the producer, African Integration, through the email address vaughnprograms24@gmail.com. That is vaughnprograms24@gmail.com. Remember, Voice of Nigeria is online. It's a big, active community. So take a virtual trip to www.voiceofnigeria.org.ng. Join our Twitter community on the handle @VoiceOfNigeria. The program was produced by Ndambabu Yaya. Sunday Additional managed the sound. My name is Glory Ohagu. Bye-bye.